Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Matt Bernier. The opening day feature at beautiful Keeneland is race number 7. It's the $100,000 Palisades Turf Sprint. We're going 5.5 furlongs on the turf. And for our loyal Race of the Day viewers, we've got a special DRFBets offer for you. Money back. Bet $7 to win on one horse in the Race of the Day. You can bet the horse of your choice. You don't have to bet my selection. You don't have to bet Matt's pick. Bet anyone you like. You must use bets.drf.com or the DRF iPhone app, and if your horse finishes second or third, we'll give the player your $7 back. It seems like a pretty good deal. Let's take a look at the field for the $100,000 Palisades Turf Sprint. We've got a full field of 3-year-old turf sprinters, and you can download free formulator past performances on the Race of the Day event page at drf.com. Access some handicap along with us. We'll take the field in post position order. Beginning with the number 1, the undefeated, Yes I Am Free. Matt, I like this horse's debut. Thought he won the duel. He also won the war. And then he came back and he pulled off a different trick, raiding from off the pace to win the Texas Glitter.
And really, that's all you can ask for with a young horse, showing some versatility. You can adapt. That was also first time against winners. Ran into a decent horse in Jackson, who was a next out winner with an 80 on dirt. And then you see Gladiator King, who we'll run into here again. Gladiator King's next race was not good, but admittedly he was in a terrible position. He came back and subsequently won a stakes race on dirt. So Yes I Am Free. He's run against solid enough horses. He's run well. From a figure standpoint, may need a slight forward move, but he's so lightly raced. I would expect that his biggest obstacle might be the inside post.
I wonder if the number 2 Vivid Verse is a little bit dirtied up at 20-1 on the morning line. His most recent race on the dirt, that does not appear to be his surface. His start 2 starts back going a mile, that doesn't appear to be his distance, but he is a perfect 2-for-2 sprinting on the turf, and he also has shown versatility from a running style standpoint.
Yeah, and I think with this turn back in distance going from the main track back to the grass, I'd imagine he's more sort of mid-pack as opposed to up there pushing the pace. But you brought it up, those 2 turf sprints, one of them over yielding ground, one of them over firm. They were both very, very strong, and if you think he can get back to that, he's 20-1 on the morning line. This is a race where, unless you think one of the shorter prices, who we'll get to, is the goods, and I think there's a real chance that one of them is the goods, I'm not going to fault anyone that takes a shot at a big number in here.
Tobacco Road, the number 3, has only raced once previously on the turf. It was at this distance at the fairgrounds, and while he was in for a $50,000 tag, he ran quite well, only losing by a head. He was in that black gold station that was washed off the turf most recently, and he ran okay in that spot as well. He seems like a really honest colt, already a stakes winner on dirt. He's the kind of horse, to me, though, I'm a little bit afraid they're going to run away from him early, and he might have too much to do late.
It's always the danger with these turnbacks. We always say we like a turnback from a mile to 7/8 or somewhere in that vicinity. A mile to 5.5 furlongs on grass where it's just an all-out sprint, drop the hammer and go as fast as you can. That can be a little bit of a concern for a horse that has a little bit of tactical ability going longer. There's a real chance, I agree with you, that he's going to have to do a lot of running at the end and hope that some of those horses in front, that they just tire.
The great trainer Steve Asmussen does well with these types. Over the past 3 years, according to Formulator, with 3-year-olds moving from dirt to turf in the third start off the layoff, 22% winners over a $5 return on investment. The 4 is Joyful Heart. The lone victory came sprinting on the turf. This horse has just not run well in his last 3 races, finishing ahead of a total of 2 horses in those 3 tries. Brian Lynch is going to add Lasix, and we have seen Lasix turn a horse's form around dramatically in the past.
Yeah, certainly. Maybe that's all you're going to need for this horse to really get back on the right track, but it feels like the wheels have just fallen off in these past 3 runs. The first 3 career efforts, they were all solid. 2 of them were turf sprints, so maybe you have that going in your favor, but at the same time, based on what this horse has done recently, it's just very difficult for me to make a case for him.
At least one of the other also-rans from that most recent race has come back to do some good things. The 8th finisher returning to run 3rd in the Columbia at Tampa Bay with a 79 before winning the state-bred Sophomore Turf Stakes on grass with an 81. The number 5 is Voigt, who just missed a real news. He's the number 6 in this race. But we'll start with Voigt. This horse seems to have a little bit of speed. I really like his pedigree, and all 3 of his turf starts are good.
He's rock solid. I don't have any knocks about this horse from a numbers standpoint. He's right there, particularly that run 2 starts back. And it's also something, maybe you want to give him some bonus points. I know he didn't quite get the job done against Real News, but 2 starts back, broke his maiden against older horses as a newly turned 3-year-old. That's not an easy thing to do. I think that the concern I have for him I think there's some other legitimate speed in here, and I do wonder if that's going to work against him. He got run down by Real News in that most recent run. Boy, you're going to have some other quality horses coming from off of it this time around. I just don't know if I love the way it looks like it sets up on paper.
The 6 Real News' form looks strikingly similar to that of the number 1 horse, Yes, I Am Free. This was a speedy debut winner who then rated from off the pace, showing a new dimension to win his first start against winners. Now, Real News has won on dirt, has won on turf, goes out for a very good trainer in Al Stall, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if this horse can take the necessary step up in class.
I was going to say another one that hasn't done anything wrong in 2 lifetime starts, and it's one of those things, not that Al Stall is any different than any other trainer, but it seems very much like he only places them in those sort of aggressive positions when he thinks they deserve that opportunity. And I feel like this is a very positive move, a very confident move. The 3rd lifetime start, you're going to be shipping him away from the fairgrounds, taking on some quality runners. I think there's a lot to like about this horse at 12-1.
And that last race was very professional for such an inexperienced horse. He was in a little bit of traffic. He had to bull his way out, and he got it done. The 7 is Hawaiian Noises, who is cross-entered in the feature race at Keeneland on Friday. That race is a longer distance affair. Hawaiian Noises has won his last 3 starts sprinting, 1 on dirt, 2 on synthetic, has kind of a sprinter's pedigree on the bottom, has been working like an animal at Keeneland with a couple of bullets.
I was going to say, I'd like to see this horse run here as opposed to the longer race on Friday. That would just be my opinion, my choice. But at the same time, boy, you bring it up. I love the fact that it seems like he is sitting on go. He's on absolute tilt based on the morning workouts. The interesting thing, too, for me, from a running style standpoint, he's shown versatility. He's won from off of it, going shorter on dirt. He's also been up there pushing the pace at slightly longer distances on synth. So I think there's a lot to like here about this horse. And boy, it feels like anytime Wesley Ward has a horse at Keeneland, you have to respect him, even more so than anywhere else in the country. And Ward does great everywhere. We know that.
And Ward, over the past 3 years, with last out winning 3-year-olds moving from synthetic to turf, 44% winners and a $3.35 ROI. Gladiator King is the number 8. You know, this is a really likable horse. He's been put in some tough spots in his career, the Fountain of Youth, the Remsen, the Holy Bull, and he's got his brains bashed in those races. What I love about this horse is it doesn't faze him in the least. When you put him in a spot where he can win, he then rebounds with an excellent effort, as he did last time out in the Grade 3 Hutchison Stakes. He fairly dominated that field on dirt, but he's 2 for 3 on turf, and he's pretty quick.
I joked on my recap pod a couple weeks ago after he won the Hutchison. I said, please, please, please don't enter him in the Florida Derby, because I was half expecting it, and I'm glad that they didn't. This, to me, feels like this is what this horse wants. He wants to go short, whether it's dirt or turf. I think there's a scenario where down the road he could stretch out on grass. But boy, I look at this and say, you know what? He might be 8-1. I think he floats up from there just because it is a low-profile outfit, and I think he actually fits reasonably well.
Timeform US has him on the lead, according to the pace projector. I'm a little bit surprised at the number 9, Abyssinian, the filly trained by Wesley Ward, who has won her last 2 starts by open lengths, and both in front-running fashion, isn't closer to the pace. She came off an extended layoff to win a non-winners of 1 other than you usually don't see horses win at 5 furlongs by almost 7 lengths. Abyssinian certainly did that, but not only is she stepping up into stakes competition for the first time, but she is going to have to face the boys in other speeds.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be a number of things that she'll have to overcome or prove that she can handle, but I can't fault anything she's done really in all 3 lifetime starts. I don't really want to hold that debut against her up at Belmont. That was last May as a 2-year-old. To be fair, she didn't beat anything in that non-winners of 1 other than, but like you said, the idea that you won by almost 7 going 5/8 of a mile, that you clearly have some ability. I like that Velasquez stays aboard. This is another positive move for Wesley Ward. I won't be surprised at all if she runs big.
I wonder if Mixed Star is a horse to keep an eye on down the road. We haven't seen him since the Kentucky Jockey Club, where he was just overmatched against Signal Man, who will return in the Bluegrass on Saturday. The one prior turf start, all things considered, I thought was pretty good in the Grade 3 Bourbon at Keeneland, going a mile and a 16th, overcoming an outside post to only be beaten 2 and something. He ran well in 2 of his sprint starts. Now, both of those races were on dirt. Maybe he is a sprinter at heart, but I wonder if Tom Amoss is just using this as a starting off point.
Yeah, because I agree with you. You look at it, and you're right. He won both of those 2 starts going shorter. I look at him and think that longer is going to be ultimately what his game is, and you do wonder, just from a timing standpoint, this is nothing more than just speculation, but you run him here at 5.5. maybe he comes with a late run, he gallops out well. You've got that American turf on the Derby undercard in just, what, 4 weeks from now? I wonder if that's a reasonable position where you could look for him next.
The 11 Strike Silver was an early 2-year-old for Mark Casse, winning his debut at Churchill Downs, running second in the Grade 3 Sanford, and then kicking like a mule in the Indian Summer Stakes over course and distance in his turf debut. I'm not going to hold the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint against him. I think that he can probably sit a little bit closer to the pace than need be, and maybe the 11 Strike Silver, from where he is on the Timeform US pace projector, could pose a very dangerous late threat.
Yeah, I feel like you're looking at probably somewhere between those two turf races as far as the running style and where he'll be positioned, because they went unbelievably fast in that run 2 back where he just came and rolled over the top and just got up. And then, like you say, that most recent run, I'm not going to hold it against him in the Breeders' Cup. It was a complete bog. He was relatively close, and I think he ran into a couple of really nice horses, especially the winner, who we'll get to here in a moment. But Strike Silver's another one. Again, if you believe the 12-1 morning line, he fits in here very well.
Let's talk about the horse to beat in the morning line favorite, the number 12 Bulletin, going out for trainer Todd Pletcher, 2 for 2 in his career, including the score in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. He beat the gate that day. He just broke tremendously fast out of there, took them on a merry chase. They basically ran 1-2 around the track. He seemed to really appreciate that yielding turf course. The 8th place finisher of that race has already come back to win a listed stakes race in Ireland. If you don't trust the yielding form of that race and how it would translate to Friday, just consider his debut, where he beat the aforementioned Jackson, a nice horse, and he just slaughtered that horse, going 5 furlongs on firm turf at Gulfstream Park. Winning his debut that day makes me think he's going to be ready to go fresh, and Timeform US has him in a great spot, sitting just off the pace.
Yeah, the only question for me that he needs to answer is, if he doesn't make the front, how does he handle that? But at the same time, what he's done in 2 lifetime starts, he's been spectacular. I don't have anything to knock about either of them. He's won over a bog against good horses. He won that career debut in just blowout fashion. And I remember going into the Breeders' Cup, looking at the figures that he earned in that debut, saying, I mean, if he runs those, he's going to be very, very tough. I just didn't know if I believed it. Well, sure enough, he goes out there and blows the doors off that field. Look, I think he's just a fascinating horse, not just for this race, but going forward, because, boy, that kind of talent with a 2-year-old, that's nothing to sneeze at. If he comes out here, and even if he loses for some reason on Thursday, I think he's going to be a fascinating one to watch going forward. Ward's third entrant in this race, another filly, the 13 Chelsea Cloisters. This horse chased Bulletin all the way around the track in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. It might have been an unlucky loser. Went against Strike Silver 2 back in the Indian Summer. She is well traveled. She is group placed in France. The blinkers come off. She is going to have to deal with the layoff. She's outside Bulletin again, but I think she has the ability to sit and finish. Yeah, I agree with that. The only thing that concerns me, and I know it's still early and she may be a little bit of a tough luck loser in a couple of these, boy, 4 times second from 6 lifetime starts, and you only won your career debut, you're already making me wonder a little bit if there's a little bit of something there. I'm not going to use the H word. I'm not going to use the hang word, but you get what I'm saying. You know, it's one of those things. But again, she's 10-1 on the morning line. I'm not going to talk anybody off that for a horse that ran well enough and has run respectably in a number of spots already. Maybe blinkers off will get her over the hump. The 14 is Dom Carlos, and if it wasn't for the layoff, I would consider this horse a little bit more seriously. I'm considering him already. He just hasn't run since June during the Royal Ascot meeting. That was a very strong edition of the Windsor Castle Stakes. It was a 28-horse field. He finished 3rd. The winner of that race came back to run 5 times. 2 Group 1 wins, 2 group placings, including 1 in a Group 1 in France, and then finished 6th in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. The 4th horse came back to win a Group 2 in Ireland. The 7th horse came back to win 2 in a row, and the 8th place horse came back to win a listed stakes. So that is a live key race, but we got to deal with an outside post position and a long layoff. Yeah, like you say, the layoff is certainly something to keep in mind and concerning. But boy, I looked at that 14 post and I said, you couldn't have drawn any worse here for your stateside debut. You've got to carry a ton of ground off of that kind of layoff. And I mean, it's going to be up to Jose Ortiz, but I even say that it's difficult for any rider out there. What are you supposed to do? You're just kind of at the mercy of what happens. I think they'd be thrilled if they were 6-7 wide going into the far turn. And even having said that, that might be generous. You might be even farther out than that.
but I am definitely keeping an eye on this one down the road, purchased privately by Team Valor and Gary Barber after the most recent one. Top pick for the Palisades Turf Sprint, I'm going to chalk it out. I like Bulletin's debut. He ran well fresh that day. I think Todd's going to have him ready to go rain or shine on Friday, and I think he can sit just off the pace and maybe get the jump on these turning into the stretch. Gladiator King, though, if he gets to the front and for some reason is able to get away with a little bit of a breather, he's a tough little bugger.
Don't be terrified if he's not changing leads, because he just doesn't. That seems to be his MO. That's not something that he's very much concerned with, but at the same time, I just like it. He goes out there, he runs. It doesn't matter if he's placed way over his head or in a reasonable spot like this. I think he goes and says, come and catch me. We're going to go as far as we can, but I respect Bulletin greatly. I think he's the real deal. I'm
going to go 12, 9, 14, 13. Give me picks.
8, 12, 6, 9.
For Thursday's Race of the Day, the Palisades Turf Sprint. Again, for our loyal Race of the Day viewers in April, here's the deal. Money back. Bet $7 to win on any horse in the Race of the Day. You must use bets.drf.com or the DRF iPhone app, and if your horse finishes second or third, we will give you your $7 back. Learn more at promos.drf.com. Approximate post time for the Palisades Turf Sprint, 6:19 Eastern. Good luck.